My daughter got expelled for wearing a wedding dress to school, but the principal's reaction at prom was priceless when the school called to tell me my 17-year-old daughter Zoe had violated the dress code. I expected the usual perndom, maybe her skirt was an inch too short or her tank top straps weren't the required 2 fingers wide. I never imagined I'd walk into the principal's office to find my daughter in a full wedding gown complete with a tiara and veil. Mrs. Bennett, Principal Warner said with that pinched expression. She's perfected over 20 years of disciplining teenagers. Your daughter has made a mockery of our dress code policy. Zoe sat there, yards of white tulle spilling over the office chair, looking both defiant and somehow elegant. Excellent, she said, pulling out a highlighted copy of the student handbook. I followed every single rule. This wasn't random teenage rebellion. This was calculated. For context, our school district had implemented an incredibly detailed dress code that disproportionately targeted female students. Girls were being sent home for the tiniest infractions, while boys seemed to get away with anything. Zoe had received 3 violations that semester alone, pairing once for wearing black jeans instead of blue, once for having a small logo on her shirt, and once because her completely appropriate sweater was deemed too form-fitting. Each time I had to leave work unpaid to bring her new clothes. As a single mom working 2 jobs, these interruptions were more than inconvenient until they were financially painful. Zoe flipped open the handbook to the dress code section. The policy states, students must wear solid colored clothing in white, navy, or khaki. No denim, no logos, no patterns. She gestured to her dress. This is solid white. Principal Warner's face reddened. This is obviously not what the policy intends. It also says skirts must reach the knee, Zoe continued. This goes well past my knees and look pert. No logos, no patterns, just as required. I bit my lip to keep from laughing. My daughter had found the perfect loophole. Where did you even get a wedding dress? I asked, genuinely curious. Goodwill, $20. Zoe grinned. Less than those approved khakis they want us to buy? Principal Warner was not amused. This disrupts the learning environment. He couldn't focus with her dressed like this. With all due respect, I said, finding my voice. You disrupt my daughter's learning environment every time you send her home for tiny violations. She's missed 3 tests this year because of your dress code. The meeting ended with Zoe receiving a 3-day suspension for insubordination and disrupting school operations. The principal also announced they would be clarifying the dress code to specifically prohibit formal wear. What happened next wasn't planned. When Zoe posted about her suspension on social media, it exploded. Local news picked up the story. Other parents came forward with similar experiences. The school board was flooded with complaints about the arbitrary enforcement of the dress code. 2 weeks later, the board announced a simplified dress code. Clothing must cover private areas appropriately and not display offensive images or language. That's it. No more color restrictions, no more measuring straps or hemlines. The real victory came at prom. Zoe wore a gorgeous blue gown she'd saved up for from her weekend job. As we took pre-prom photos in our living room, there was a knock at the door. It was Principal Warner holding a small gift bag. I owe you an apology, she said to Zoe, looking genuinely remorseful. The dress code was excessive, and instead of listening to student concerns, we just kept adding more restrictions. She handed Zoe the bag. Intified was a tiara part not unlike the one Zoe had worn with her wedding dress protest. Every queen needs a crown, Principal Warner said with a small smile. Even the ones who challenged the kingdom as Zoe and her friends left for prom. I noticed Principal Warner lingering. You raised quite an advocate, she said quietly. She's going to change things wherever she goes. She already has, I replied, watching my daughter part tiara glinting in her hair partir climb into the limo. Sometimes the most important lessons our children learn in school have nothing to do with textbooks and everything to do with standing up for what's right, even when it means wearing a wedding dress to chemistry class.